So today we're gonna talk about what we all want. As an article by the psychologytoday.com site again, or .org, I actually should check it out or jack it up and see what the case actually is. But I think it is a pretty interesting article regarding feeling valuable and feeling like somebody thinks that you are a valuable person and so on and so on. And I do think that it is worth going through, and this is also the reason why I'm gonna go through it. So let's actually have a look at it. Let's actually see what the article is saying. It's not that amazingly long, but it is something. We All Want the Same Thing by Joseph A. Schrent, MD, by the I Am approach, which I guess is, might be a company, might be something else. I actually don't know, and I don't care. Posted on December the 2nd, 2020, so it is actually from today. This video is also going to be recorded on the 2nd of December, or is it? No, today's the 3rd. Today's the 3rd. So it is from yesterday, and I should actually do it like this. And yeah, we all want the same thing, simply to be valued by somebody else. Think about every person you have ever met. They just want to feel valued. I want to feel valued, and so do you, by someone, right? I think this universal human need has variation roots. Millions of years ago, we were not the fastest animal, we were not the strongest, and not the biggest animal. We were isolated mammals scurrying around trying to be lunch. We were prey. And then we formed these small social groups, and our social potential increased so dramatically that human beings are everywhere. But to stay protected by the group, you have to contribute. So you have to have value, and you have to be valued, and you have to give certain value to the group. This survival mode explains why I get angry, anxious, or sad when I feel less valued. The limbic part of my brain worries I may get kicked out of my protective and be lunch. Out of my protective group, I guess. Right or wrong, just the perception of being devalued activates our ancient, irrational, emotional, and often impulsive response. We worry we will be lunch. Anger is often an irrational and impulsive emotion that originates in an ancient part of our brain called the limbic system. The limbic system can make us impulsive, doing things without thinking about the consequences of our action or what will happen next. Anger is the fight branch of fight and flight. It's an emotion designed to change things. We get angry when we want someone to do something different, to start doing something or stop doing. Anger happens when you think someone is trying to take something from you or has more than you, leaving you less than and vulnerable. Anger is an approach emotion, often designed to make somebody else activate their flight branch, the fear and anxiety that comes with feeling threatened, which just makes sense. I mean, if you think about all those examples and all of those findings and or conclusions, I do think they just all make sense. It is just the case. Yeah. I mean, there's always the fear of missing out or the fear of not having as much as the other person, whatnot. Because if you think just back to our very ancient times, it has been all about surviving. And guess what? If you're not having as much food as the other person is having, even though you're quite the same person, you're probably not going to live as long as this person. And so our survival instinct and thoughts and whatnot kick in and say, well, that's not pretty amazing. That's fucked up. This might actually be also one of the reasons why children in general are so egocentric, or their worldview is egocentric, just because they're still having way much more of this survival instinct in them than just adults and also teenagers and whatnot are having. I do think that there is some time where this changes, from the egocentric, I'm just the middle of the universe and I'm the best whatnot, and however, to, okay, there's actually other people and, people that are living with me, and, more of this social thinking, being a social animal, thinking about other people, being nice and whatnot. And by the way, I do think that this is also one of the reasons why being nice and being a good person feels so good, just because we are then valued, because we're nice and we're contributing something to the group, which then in the end leaves us thinking that we are not going to be lunch very soon. But on the other hand, if then people don't value that much, even though you've given something to them and you've just, giving them food, giving them money, just if you have been contributing to the system and to the group, but you're not getting something back, then this just really makes sense that you're going to feel bad about that. Like, okay, I've given so much to these people, but I've not gotten anything back. Or when I need them, when I needed the group for protection or for something else, I didn't get anything from them. This, of course, just really makes sense, as I'm realizing actually that it is just, sensical that you're gonna feel bad if you've put so much into something, into this group, but haven't gotten anything out of it. But yeah, when we sense that somebody else sees us with less value, we worry we will be kicked out of our protective group and some predator will come and eat us, that we will be lunch. This group mentality has helped us survive, but it can backfire. An entire group can feel devalued by another group. This can lead to war, as I think it's quite always been the case, when it comes to war, that one group thought, well, the other group is devaluing us, they think that we are shit, they think that we are just lower in value than they are, and so on. But yeah, there are millions of people in our country, in our countries, in our world, who feel that others see them as less than. Many are angry, they want something to change. Right now, at this very moment in our history, there are a lot of angry people who feel that something is being taken from them, and they want to change that. They want what we all want, to feel valued, but not just by people in that group, they want to feel valued by people in your group. We are one group, it's called humanity. If we, guess what, there's something called humanity. Did you know about that? I didn't. If we continue to act limbically and impulsively, we are not going to be able to anticipate what will happen next. The part of our brain responsible for rational thought, for making a plan, executing that plan, and anticipating what will happen next lives right behind our forehead and is called the prefrontal cortex, or PFC. How many times have you done something impulsively, limbically, or slapped your forehead as if trying to jumpstart your prefrontal cortex? Actually pretty interesting. Keep it frontal, don't go limbic. There's nothing wrong with anger, it is what you do with it that matters. And when is the last time you got angry at someone treating you with respect? You don't. Yeah, actually really quite the case. There's always going to be a reason, at least in our head. There's a reason for why we're getting angry, why we're getting disappointed, why we're feeling anything. In our head, there's always going to be a reason. And sometimes we are seeing things in a very wrong light, so that we get angry, we get jealous, we get whatever, even though there's no real reason for just being so or doing so. Also something to consider and having in mind. And when is the last time you got angry at someone treating you with respect? You don't. Because anger is an emotion designed to change things, but being respected feels great, so our brains do not activate anger. Because why? There is no reason for doing so. Respect leads to value, which is what everybody wants. And what amazing is that at any and every moment in time, you can remind someone of their value. And whenever you remind someone of their value, you increase your own value. And everyone wants to feel valuable. Respect leads to value and leads to trust. And trust is the antidote to anger and fear and sadness, because when you believe that someone else sees you as valuable, you make a mistake and not worry. You can make a mistake and not worry that the person will see you as less valuable and kick you out of your protective group. That's what we need to do right now. Value each other instead of judging each other as less than. I would rather wonder than worry about why you do what you do. I would rather be reflective than reflexive. I would rather have the discussion, use my PFC or prefrontal cortex as you use yours, and explore our differences as opportunities to learn. I want to know why you're angry without being afraid of your anger. I wanted to know that you are respected, valued, and that we can create a foundation of trust. We need this now more than ever. There's nothing wrong with anger. It is what we do with it that will matter. And never forget that we all want the exact same thing. So no matter which group or tribe or country we come from, we just want to feel valued by somebody else. Keep it frontal, don't go limbic. We can do this. I am home, social, biological, icy. I don't know what this fucking graph is, but I've really, really tremendously enjoyed this article. I think it is actually really amazing. Well, so being at home and feeling valued, biological value, social value, I see. It's actually very, very interesting. Fear of hurting others can leave us paralyzed. Why do we need to feel valued? Keep it frontal, don't go limbic. There's actually other articles. I'm just reading the titles. Why do people lie? Part 2. No one is sick or broken. Trumping fear. Addiction is not a crime. Are religions really so different? Why do we need to feel valued? Let's go through that one as well, unless it is very long. Again, by Joseph A. Schrant, MD, the I Am Approach. Why do we need to feel valued? Human beings are not so different from each other after all. This is a post by, by Joseph from the 18th of May 2020. So it's also very, very recent. We all want the same thing, simply to be valued by somebody else. Think about every person you have ever met. They just want to feel valued. I want to feel valued, and so do. Is it actually the same article? I think it is the same article, isn't it? We don't need to continue going down that road now. I think it is actually quite the same, so I'm not going to go through it. Fear of hurting others can leave us paralyzed. Hungry? No, you're not. A working example of the I Am Approach. Let's actually check that out. You know, if it is a working example of his approach. Just as easily as validating a person, we can invalidate them. So what happens then? Last blog, a little boy who was hungry was fed by his mom, confirming his experience and enhancing his I am. But what happens if a child goes to a parent and says, I'm hungry, and the parent says, no, you're not. Now development takes a different track. The child begins to think, I am not. Then what is this? What is this? I thought I was hungry, but my mom is saying I'm not hungry. What is going on? In this example, the biological experience of hunger has been correctly identified by the child, confirmed by his Icy Domain, but now invalidated by his mother in the home environment. What is his Icy meant to do? Or Elsie? I think it is Icy. There is an enormous impact between the home environment and the Icy Domain. His parent has just denied he is hungry. If the boy thought it was hunger he was feeling, but his parents say it isn't, and his parent sees him differently than he perceives himself, then his IC domain moves his I am from one of certainty and validation to one of uncertainty and invalidation. And further, if the boy convinces himself that he has indeed correctly interpreted his hunger, then why isn't his parent feeding him? Do they see him as not worthy of being fed or of not being valuable? And if I am not valuable, then will no one respect me? He may wonder to himself, and then he may wonder, who can I trust? Respect leads to value, and value leads to trust. Being respected and valued are inseparable functions of each other. Being devalued makes one feel disrespected and makes it difficult to trust. When we deny the validity of someone's I am, they may feel diminished. In the case of the hungry little boy, his home domain has become one where he sees himself as viewed in a way that diminishes his IC domain. Which I think in the end is going to lead to really critically bad things. Like, okay, if I'm feeling this hungry emotion, is it emotion? I don't know. Or if I'm feeling the hunger, then I shouldn't feel that. Because if I'm feeling that, which is a feeling that is not good since I'm not validated or valued, you know, when I'm hungry, then I don't know. I don't know what this child is going to think of hunger and the relation to hunger and so on. Like, it might actually be leading to overfeeding. It might be leading to just eating way too much so that the child is never feeling hungry, for example. I don't know, if you think about it, it's a really fucked up thing. You know, I do like the concept of this guy. I think it is actually quite interesting and also sensical. But of course, I mean, there's going to be just so many different opinions on that, and there's going to be just 500 different models that are just kind of trying to explain the same thing or the same scenario. So yeah. While one instance of such dismissal is unlikely to have long-term repercussions, the pattern of dismissal, can certainly result in complications. As this boy enters the social environment of school, work, and play, he may bring a different way of attaching to others, if he trusts to attach at all. For this boy, will be uncertain as to how others perceive him and be unsure if they truly understand and value him for who he is, hungry to be valued but unsure if he is worthy. This is the dark side of the Icy Domain and the theory of mind. Human beings are indeed inherently empathetic or empathic, able to appreciate the point of view, feelings, and thoughts of other person. And we are especially interested in what that person is thinking about us. When we see it as a positive, we begin to develop a positive self-image. But when it is negative, several other things may occur. First, we may begin to believe what other people think about us and apply it to our self-concept. If seen as inadequate, we may begin to feel inadequate. If seen as unlovable, we may begin to feel unlovable. If seen as a bad person, we may begin to feel like a bad person. When this pattern of being seen as inadequate is resentless, we may then begin to arrest our own Icy Domain. We may begin to stop using our own theory of mind. Why should we care or be interested in what someone else is thinking or feeling about us when it is always malevolent? Is it malevolent? Malevolent. Anyway, why should we want to know what someone else is thinking? I suspect that this is happening in many individuals right now. Unfortunately, quite. In our country, it seems that more people are angry, scared, blame others for their stress, and are proclaiming that the other person is less than, wrong, and should be doing better. If you're not with me, then you're against me. If you don't take my point of view, then I am not interested in yours. With each step we take, marching into our separate camps, we further invalidate the I see of that other person. We dismiss their hunger, their fear, their perspective. We miss an opportunity to talk with each other, choosing instead to shout at each other, perpetuating a conflict that may be much easier to resolve than we recognize. We retreat into the safety of those who agree with our point of view, forming larger and larger groups, and each of these groups has an I am, trumping fear. The I am approach is not just about an individual. Systems also have an I am. The USA is our home domain. The social domain is how we interact with the rest of the global community. The United States has an IC domain. We see ourselves as a certain way and are seen by other countries a certain way, which is definitely the case. This seems to have changed dramatically since November the 8th, 2016, and the biological domain are all our resources, the people, and each of them has an I am. The recent election has exposed the anger, fear, sadness, and stress in our amazing USA. Even this is an I am. It is the best our country can do right now, but we don't have to like it. We don't have to condone it. An I am is not a free ride. Just because it's an I am doesn't mean we are not going to be held responsible for it. But rather than judge it, which will only lead to more fear or more fear of being devalued, let's try to look at it again, to understand it, to explore the influences of the four domains on who we are, how we got here, and where we are going. We are one country in one world of one group, which is humanity. We can remind each other of our value or just as easily devalue it. You get to choose. We get to decide. We all do, and each decision will be an I am, our current maximum potential, with the potential to change in the very next second to another I am. It's an I am thing. I do wonder though what the I am approach is. I am approach. It's not correct. The I am approach, psychology today. Is there like examining fear, stress, anxiety more? Why do we I think that's actually a really great example, and no, not example, system or concept. However, the I am story. You control no one but influence everyone. And by influencing somebody else, you're influencing yourself, because you're probably going to be seen in a different light. For example, if you're nice to a person instead of being a fucked up motherfucker. The identity method. I am, which is trademarked, by the way. Fuck. The identity method. Many psychological problems originate during upset or ongoing painful life experiences, at which time subcells or controlling identities, CIs, are formed. Modern and ancient terms for CIs include alter ego, ego states, basins of attraction, and demons. CIs involve an assemblage of thoughts, core beliefs, emotions, sensations, physiology, and behaviors. When they are activated, your level of consciousness lowers, and in a sense, you become someone else. This is not the real you, but rather an identity to which you bequeath your power and control. CIs receive their power and energy from you. Although they may be formed out of a survival motive, they can interfere with your health, positive intentions, and happiness. While you might be tempted to fight against them, that approach actually infuses them with more energy and power. However, CIs are really powerful forces that can be harnessed for your health and happiness. Since they are distinct from the real you, they can be effectively transformed through unique mindfulness processes. The creation of an CI involves duality. The process entails disassociation followed by unconsciously engineering the identity and associating. Well, anyway. Where have I stopped? Fuck. Engineering the identity and associating to it. The way out of the quandary is through reversing the process, beginning with disassociative observation and returning to relative wholeness. The return to wholeness occurs not through conflict, but by witnessing, offering compassion, and getting in touch with your true self. Drawing on concepts and techniques from hypnotherapy, NLP, mindfulness practices, SDWT, and advanced energy psychology, the identity method consists of processes that make it simple or possible to access and enhance your core energy and transmit. Well, it's actually getting a little bit woo-woo there. I do want to quickly check Joseph, blah, blah, blah. The I am story. Maybe I'm going to find something a little shorter, a little bit more, on the point here. But no, I don't think so. Respect. The IMAX approach. The IMAX states, oh, now it is IMAX, not I am. Pretty interesting. Maybe it's an old post, I don't know. But it's the same thing, basically. States that everyone is currently at their personal pinnacle of potential, doing the best that they know how to do and how to do at any given moment in time. The IMAX is influenced by 4 interactive domains: home and social life, and self-concept, and the body's current biological genetic manifestations. It is actually a very interesting thought, since it is very positive. Like, if somebody's doing something wrong, or if somebody's doing something, then we can always guess that this person is giving his or her best. Since at this point of time, it is just the best. It's just the best as this person was able to do, based on all these variables. Like, of course, on one day you're gonna be not as good as on the last day, just because maybe at home you had some fight with your mom, for example. I really appreciate that, but I'm gonna end the episode there. So yeah, I wish you myself of happiness and also success, and also hope that you're gonna remind yourself and you're gonna be remembered, which basically means your legacy, and basically means just being a nice person and then being remembered as a nice person, which is a pretty fucking cool thing as well. 3 questions that I have you are: why are you here? What are you trying to change, and what is bothering you the most? These 3 questions. Hopefully gonna show you your purpose and maybe even a business idea, which is also a pretty cool thing. One last idea that I'm having for you is, what could you essentially say to another person that is indeed going to change their life? Because I totally believe that we all can say something, and we all can communicate something that is indeed going to change somebody's life. Now, with that being said, hopefully going to see you next time. Bye bye.